There is a strange misconception about power. Most people imagine power as the loudest voice in the room, the person who dominates every conversation, the one who always has an answer, the one who demands attention. But if you observe carefully, the world often moves differently. In a meeting, notice who speaks the least. At a family gathering, notice who watches before reacting. In negotiations, notice who allows silence to exist without rushing to fill it. Very often, these people possess something far more valuable than constant speech. They possess awareness. Silence is frequently misunderstood as weakness, yet silence can simply be the absence of unnecessary noise. And when necessary noise disappears, observation begins. This video isn't about becoming cold. It's not about intimidating others. It's about recognizing something most people overlook. Every social environment contains visible conversations and invisible dynamics. Most people hear the words, few notice the patterns. Today, we're exploring how a calm posture and deliberate silence can expand your awareness, helping you understand the social landscape around you with greater clarity. Chapter 1. Most people enter a room already talking. Walk into almost any social setting, a workplace, a classroom, a networking event, a cafe. Notice what happens when the people arrive carrying an invisible pressure. The pressure to be interesting, to be funny, to be accepted, to prove they belong. This pressure often creates constant talking. People reveal opinions before understanding the room. They interrupt silence because silence feels uncomfortable. They answer questions no one asked. They fill every pause with words. The result is surprising. While they believe they are gaining attention, they are often giving away information. Without realizing it, people reveal their priorities, their insecurities, their emotional state, what impresses them, what frustrates them, what they fear, what they seek. None of this requires interrogation. It simply requires observation. When your first instinct is to speak, your awareness narrows. When your first instinct is to observe, your awareness expands. Silence creates space, and in that space, patterns become visible. Chapter 2. The observer sees what the speaker misses. Imagine two people entering the same room. The first immediately begins telling stories. They move from group to group, trying to leave an impression. The second spends the first few minutes simply observing, not judging, watching. Who interrupts others, who constantly seeks approval, who listens carefully, who changes their personality depending on who is nearby, who asks questions instead of talking about themselves. None of these observations requires extraordinary intelligence, only patience. Human behavior often repeats itself. People settle into habits surprisingly quickly. The person who dominates one conversation usually dominates the next. The person who avoids responsibility often does so consistently. The person who treats service staff with respect often treats everyone with respect. The point is not to label people. The point is to recognize patterns before drawing conclusions. Awareness isn't suspicion. Awareness is disciplined attention. That distinction matters. People who assume every smile hides deception becomes trapped by paranoia. Someone who notices behavior over time develops informed judgment. One isolates, the other understands. Silence supports this process because it keeps your attention directed outward instead of inward. You are no longer thinking, what should I say next? Instead, you are asking, what is actually happening here? That single shift changes the quality of your perception. The room hasn't changed, your awareness has. And once your awareness grows, the invisible dynamics of the room begin to reveal themselves. Chapter 3: The Conversation Beneath the Conversation. Every conversation has two layers. The first is obvious. It is the words. The second is quieter. It is the behavior surrounding those words. Most people spend their attention listening to what is being said. Few pay attention of how is being said. Observe carefully. Does someone answer immediately? Or do they pause before speaking? Do they maintain the same tone with everyone? Or their confidence change depending on who enters the room? Do people naturally lean toward one person during conversation? Who asks thoughtful questions? Who constantly redirects attention back to themselves? Who becomes uncomfortable when another person receives recognition? None of these behaviors automatically reveal a person's intentions, but together they reveal patterns. Human interaction is rarely random. People communicate through facial expressions, through posture, through timing, through attention, through what they choose not to say. Sometimes silence communicates confidence, sometimes it communicates uncertainty. The difference is context. Composed silence is relaxed. An anxious silence searches for escape. This is why awareness matters. Observation without context creates assumptions. Observation with patience creates understanding. The goal is never to become suspicious of everyone. The goal is to become attentive enough that fewer important details escape your notice. Chapter 4: Emotional Contagion. Imagine entering a room where everyone is laughing. Within seconds you begin smiling. Now imagine walking into another room. Nobody is speaking. The atmosphere feels tense. Without anyone saying a word, you feel it. This is emotional contagion. Human beings constantly influence one another emotionally, often without realizing it. Confidence spreads, calm spreads, panic spreads, stress spreads, excitement spreads. People unconsciously synchronize with the emotional tone around them. This is why your own posture matters. A controlled posture is not about looking intimidating. It is about becoming emotionally stable. When people panic, you slow down. When people rush, you breathe. When conversations become emotional, you remain present. Remaining calm does not guarantee that others will become calm, but it helps prevent you from carrying away by someone else's emotional state. Awareness begins with noticing the room. Wisdom begins by noticing yourself. Because if your emotions constantly react to everyone else's emotions, your perception becomes distorted. The calmer your internal state becomes, the more accurately you can observe external reality. Chapter 5: The Quiet Presence. There is a difference between demanding attention and naturally attracting it. Many people believe influence comes from speaking more loudly or more often, but genuine presence often works differently. Think about someone who speaks only when they have something meaningful to contribute. People tend to listen, not because the person is mysterious, but because their words are intentional. Their silence creates space, their posture communicates patience, their attention communicates respect. Notice something interesting. People who constantly interrupt are usually trying to be heard. People who constantly prove themselves are often trying to be believed. People who constantly seek recognition usually feel they have not yet earned it internally. Meanwhile, someone who listens carefully often learns more than everyone else in the room combined. Listening is not passive, it is active observation. It allows you to understand different perspectives, to recognize misunderstandings before they become conflicts, to notice concerns that were never spoken directly. This isn't about becoming silent all the time. Silence without awareness becomes withdrawal. Speech without awareness becomes noise. The goal is balance. Speak with purpose, listen with curiosity, observe with patience, respond with intention. Over time, people begin to noticing something different about you, not because you dominate conversations, but because your presence feels grounded, calm, deliberate, reliable. And in a world overflowing with constant noise, those qualities become remarkably rare. This sets up the final act naturally. Chapter 6. Awareness is not paranoia. There is an important distinction many people never learn. Awareness and paranoia may look similar from a distance, but they lead to completely different lives. The paranoid mind assumes, the aware mind observes. The paranoid mind searches for enemies. The aware mind searches for understanding. The paranoid mind sees every disagreement as an attack. The aware mind recognizes that people disagree for many reasons. Different experience, different goals, different emotions, or simple misunderstandings. When you become more attentive to social dynamics, there is a temptation. You begin noticing inconsistencies, contradictions, change in tone, shifts in behavior. Soon you may feel as to every interaction hides a secret meaning. This is where awareness becomes dangerous if it loses its balance. Not every pause is manipulation. Not every compliment has an ulterior motive. Not every disagreement is disrespect. Human beings are complex. Sometimes people are distracted. Sometimes they are anxious. Sometimes they are simply had a difficult day. Real awareness resists the urge to jump to conclusions. Instead, it asks better questions. What else could explain this behavior? Is this a constant pattern or a single moment? Do I have enough information to reach a conclusion? Those questions protect your judgment. Observation should increase clarity, not fear. The goal is not to become suspicious of the world. The goal is to become difficult to deceive because you pay attention without abandoning reason. That balance is one of the rarest forms of wisdom. Chapter 7. Becoming the Calm Observer. Imagine entering every room with nothing to prove. No need to impress, no need to dominate, no need to win every conversation. Instead, you become curious. You notice who encourages others, who listens, who changes their behavior depending on the audience, who remains consistent regardless of status. You also notice yourself. Are your shoulders tense? Are you speaking just to avoid silence? Are you listening or merely waiting for your turn to speak? This is where real influence begins, not by controlling other people, but by developing control over your own attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Where your attention goes, your perception follows, and where your perception improves, your decisions improve. Silence is simply one tool that protects your attention. It slows the impulse to react. It creates space for reflection. It allows you to notice details that haste often hides. Over time, you realize something unexpected. The world has not become more predictable. You simply become more present, and presence changes everything. Conclusion. Modern life rewards speed, faster conversations, faster opinions, faster reactions, faster judgments. Yet many of life's most important truths reveal themselves only to those who slow down enough to notice them. Silence is not about withdrawing from the world, it is about hearing the world more clearly. A composed posture is not a performance, it is a reflection of inner stability. Awareness is not about discovering hidden enemies around every corner. It is about seeing reality with fewer illusions. When you stop rushing to speak, you begin listening. When you stop rushing to judge, you begin understanding. When you stop chasing attention, you begin noticing that attention has been hiding from you. Perhaps the strongest person in the room is not the one speaking the loudest. Perhaps it is the one who remains calm while everyone else is reacting. The one who observes before concluding. The one who listens before responding. The one who acts with intention instead of impulse. Because in the end, power is not measured by how much attention you command. It is measured by how much clarity you can maintain when the world around you grows noisy. And clarity begins with awareness. It begins with silence. It begins with mastering yourself. Call to action. If this perspective challenged the way you think about silence, awareness, and social dynamics, subscribe for more videos exploring psychology, human behavior, and self-mastery. Remember, observe carefully, think critically, remain composed, because the clearest mind is rarely the loudest one. Rule and conquer. Follow for more.